Any offer at all the Jaguars should consider for the first overall pick and the right to take Trevor Lawrence. Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolf alongside LeVar Arrington in for Nick this morning. We got Brandon. We got Kevin Wilds. Brandon, they'd have to be crazy, right? Crazy to do anything other than Trevor.
Listen, everything has a price. Everything has a price. There's a deal to be had.
Oh, there's some wiggle room there, according to B. Marsh. All right, we'll get to what the Jaguars may or may not do in a second. We got to start with the Dallas Cowboys and their plans ahead of next week's draft. So despite a desperate need to shore up that defense, Jerry Jones appears locked in on tight end Kyle Pitts. And for good reason. Guy's a stud and will likely be the first non-quarterback taken. But is that set in stone? It certainly appears that way. Wait till you hear Dallas's pre-draft call with Pitts from earlier this week. Take a listen to this.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm excited to have you come into this league. And, man, what a pair up we could do with old Dak Prescott. Some of those guys that we've got out there of options to get you the ball. So we can dream of visions of sugar plums around here.
I mean, visions of sugar plums, gentlemen. Only Jerry Jones.
Right.
Brandon, let's start with you here. Is Jerry Jones' enthusiasm about drafting Kyle Pitts, is that a good thing for the Cowboys or a bad thing for the Cowboys?
I mean, it could be a great thing. Listen, we know what type of defense they had last year, and that's the biggest need. But there's two things that can happen on defense when you talk about creating putting a defense on the field that can compete. One, you can have amazing players. And then two, you can have an amazing scheme. So when you think about Dan Quinn leaving Atlanta or being fired from Atlanta, coming in as a defensive coordinator, he has to do his job if they're going to focus on offense, because you got a guy in Kyle Pitts who literally is a wide receiver. This dude can do it all. You can put him inside, you can put him outside. It's a matchup nightmare. What I love about this, it reminds me of my Chicago days when we had Martellus Bennett in his prime. We had Alshon Jeffrey entering his prime, young pup. You had me in my prime, you had Matt Forte. What do you do if you're a defensive coordinator? You can't play coverage. You can't load the box. And when you do play coverage, you got a running game. So this is just absolutely dangerous for anybody playing against the Dallas Cowboys if they go out there and they put together the right scheme and spread the ball around. Now, the key is this, LeVar. They have to play unselfish football. They got to understand if they play together, this offense could be dangerous. But there's one ball, and they got five guys that can be, number one in offense when it comes to production and getting the ball when you look at that roster. So they got to play unselfish ball, LeVar.
I think it's a bad thing that I've never tried sugar plums before, but hearing Jerry Jones say sugar plums made me want sugar plums. So I'm going to try to find some. I think we should do it on the show one day. It's a great thing to want Kyle Pitts. It's a great thing to do what you can do to get Kyle Pitts. I'll take it a step further for you, B. Marsh. If you think about a defense as porous as the Dallas Cowboys has been, if you have an offense that is basically unstoppable, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Kyle Pitts, Gallup, and you're talking about if my man Ezekiel in the backfield actually shows up this year, and Dak Prescott, it's a wrap, right?
Right.
So if I'm a defensive player, can we please do this? Can we please recognize the fact that these are National Football League defenders? Meaning they made it to the pinnacle of the sport. So they are there for a reason. Now, if you have an offense that becomes virtually unstoppable, then you can actually be a decent and an average defense and still have success. Why? Because game plans change when you take a team out of what the character of the team is. If you're playing from behind, and if you're playing from behind with multiple points, multiple touchdowns, possessions that you have to be able to win a game, it makes it an easier game for a defensive coordinator to call. It makes it easier for a defensive unit to play. So I think it's a great idea to try to add more offense offense, even though you need to address the defensive side of the ball, Wilds.
LeVar, I thought you were going to go defense. I thought Brandon was going to be. We're going to be like, you know what? Defensive guys need a lot of love too. But I'm with you guys. I love offense, and I understand that the Cowboys are a little bit like the guy at the gym who is always doing the bench press and then skips leg day. It's like, hey, you know, legs are half your body. He's like, yeah, I know, but more bench press today. It's like, okay, bench it out, buddy. You look great. Because here's the thing. The way that Jerry Jones spends his money shows how much he loves the offense. He spends the 10th most money on offense, spends the 31st most money on defense. But, LeVar, I think you make a great point that if they're playing ahead, all of a sudden, maybe the defense doesn't matter. And we know that the Cowboys are a very sentimental team. We know that they always love the triplets. Well, how about we introduce the quintuplets? 5 guys that can make it happen on offense. I just love it. You know, you always said there's one ball, Brandon. Unfortunately, in this graphic, there's 2 balls. Kyle Pitts gets his own special ball. That's how good the offense is going to be. So the question is this, LeVar, I'll throw it back to you. Do you see the Cowboys actually making this move because Jerry Jones has been so vocal about wanting Kyle Pitts?
I mean, you would have to assume that that would be it, but you just... I tend to wonder, because this is that time of posturing and pre-draft negotiations. Are you putting it out there because you want to have this opportunity? Are you putting it out there for other alternative reasons? Is this a straight up, like, I love the guy, or is it a smokescreen? I don't really know what his true intentions are, and you never really do in these moments. This is a poker game. And so to me, you know, him putting it out there the way that he is, how realistic is it that he works to get that pick, Wilds? I'm really not sure, but B. Marsh, I will say this. You cannot go wrong with getting Kyle Pitts on your team, no matter what team you are. So it comes across to me as just a simple way of saying this is a can't-miss prospect in this year's draft, Marsh.
Right. And look, Jerry Jones is savvy. He's a marketing genius. We know that. Jerry's world, how he built that. But there's no reason for him to go out there and go and talk about Kyle Pitts in a way just to trick everybody else in the NFL, to trick them on what they're going to do on the defensive side or what they could do possibly in the draft. Like, this is just Jerry Jones really showing us who he is and how he loves Kyle Pitts, Jenna. He has no reason to go out there and do otherwise.
Unless he's just a terrible poker player. I mean, if Nick was here, that would be his take. And he's like, this is what I'm doing, and he shows us all his cards. All right, we're going to take a turn, talk some Tom Brady, who happens to be a very good poker player. Making that up, no idea. Usually we see him fired up on the sidelines. Yesterday, the guy was on fire on Instagram. We're going to explain the root